You wake up tired, scroll your phone, handle responsibilities, you go through routines and repeat the same cycle every day. But deep down, there's this strange feeling that something is missing. It's not entertaining, it's not motivation, it's something bigger, it's the purpose. And the dangerous part is most people don't ignore their purpose on purpose. They ignore it slowly, they quietly, and one distraction at a time, and one excuse at a time, and one comfortable routine at a time. People spend years convincing themselves they're just being realistic when they're abandoning the part of themselves that wanted more. The truth is, your purpose rarely shows up screaming. Usually, it's whispers. It shows up as ideas you can't stop thinking about, or goals that keep returning no matter how many times you push them away, or that uncomfortable feeling you get when you realize you're capable of more than what you're currently doing. And most people silence that feeling because purpose is inconvenient and purpose interrupts comfort. Purpose asks you to grow. Purpose forces you to confront fear and laziness, doubt, and every excuse when you're hiding behind it. And that's why so many people settle into survival mode instead of living intentionally. They start asking themselves what they actually want from life and start asking what's the easiest and safest or least risky. But eventually reality catches up. You can distract yourself with entertainment, work, and relationships and or temporary pleasures, but deep down you still know when you've avoided the life you were supposed to build. And that feeling doesn't disappear with age. In fact, it usually gets louder. And the scary thing about ignoring your purpose isn't failure, it's regret. Failure at least means you tried. Regret means you watched your own potential slowly fade because you kept waiting for the perfect moment to begin. And most people think purpose is some magical discovery that suddenly appears one day, like lightning strikes from the sky. But purpose is usually revealed through action. You don't think your way into clarity. You move your way into clarity. And the reason so many people feel lost is because they spend all their time overthinking and almost no time experimenting. They wait until they feel confident before starting, but confidence is built through movement and not before it. Imagine how many talented people never create anything meaningful simply because they spent years waiting to feel ready. I see it all the time in the comment sections, people making fun of me. I have multiple channels and people making fun of me for this, that, the way I look, my weight. You know what? That could really kill people's motivation. I don't let it. The musician never uploads music. The entrepreneur never launches the business. The writer never writes the book. The creator never posts the video. The athlete never commits fully. And all because they thought uncertainty meant to stop, but uncertainty is normal. Every meaningful path begins with uncertainty. Nobody fully knows what they're doing in the beginning. People just learn faster because they're willing to start before they feel prepared. And purpose is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's not doing something that makes you feel alive instead of emotionally numb. I think about the moments when time disappears from for you, okay? Think about it. Think about the conversations, the projects, the goals or ideas that energize you even when they're difficult. That matters. Your purpose often leaves clues through obsessions, through curiosity, through the things you naturally return to without being forced. But modern life is designed to disconnect you from that. Social media constantly pulls your attention outward instead of asking what you want. You start comparing yourself to everybody else. You begin chasing appearances instead of fulfillment. You chase status, validation, and comfort because everybody around you seems to value those things. But external approval can never replace the internal meaning. And that's why people can have money, followers, attention, or success and still feel empty. They built a life that looked impressive instead of one that actually meant something to them. Purpose cannot be borrowed from somebody else. You have to discover it through your own experiences, your own failures, and your own honesty. And honesty is difficult because it forces you to admit you're wasting your potential. And a lot of people stay busy because, being busy, it feels productive. But there's a huge difference between activity and progress. You could spend years doing things that keep you occupied without moving forward, anything meaningful. Purpose requires intentionality. It requires asking yourself uncomfortable questions. What do you actually want? What kind of life would make you proud of yourself? And what are you avoiding because you're scared of, failing or being judged? Most people never sit alone long enough to answer those questions honestly because the answer demands change. And change, well, it's uncomfortable. But staying stuck is uncomfortable too. And the difference is one type of discomfort leads somewhere and the other slowly destroys your confidence over time. And every day you ignore your potential. You train yourself to believe you are incapable of more. You start shrinking your own vision. You start trusting yourself. You become emotionally disconnected from ambition because you're spent so long suppressing it. And that's why taking action matters even when the action is small. Purpose grows stronger through evidence, and every time you keep promises to yourself, your identity changes. And every time you take a step forward despite fear, your confidence it will expand. And most people, they think massive life changes happen overnight. But real transformation is usually built through small, repeated decisions. Waking up earlier, learning a skill consistently, creating even when nobody watches. Boy, have I been there. I got videos with 0 views on them on many of my channels that I spent lots of time on writing a script and literally no views. Improving your health, saying no to distractions, protecting your focus, staying disciplined when motivation disappears. Those small actions, they compound into a completely different life. And the problem is people underestimate consistency because it looks boring in the beginning and everybody wants dramatic results, but purpose is often hidden inside repetition. The person who masters something usually isn't the most talented though. They're the one who stayed committed long enough to grow, and commitment is rare now because everybody is addicted to instant gratification. People quit goals quickly because they expect fast results, and the second progress becomes slow or difficult. They assume the path isn't meant for them. But meaningful things take time. A tree does not grow overnight. Strength does not appear instantly, and wisdom does not appear or arrive immediately. Your purpose requires patience because you are becoming someone new in the process, and becoming someone new means letting go of the old habits, the old excuses, and sometimes even the old environments. And one of the hardest truths to accept is that some people around you will never understand your vision. They'll project their fear onto you because your growth reminds them of their own inactions. I get that all the time in the comments, especially on my gaming channel. If you start taking your purpose seriously, some people will call you unrealistic, obsessed, selfish, or delusional, not because you're wrong, but because your ambition makes them uncomfortable. And that's why you cannot build your life around external approval. If you constantly need permission to chase your goals, you'll remain trapped by the opinions of people who aren't living your life. Purpose requires courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move despite fear. Every successful person you admire has doubted themselves at some point. Every single one, including myself. The difference is they acted anyways. I had all this gear for many years and I didn't act upon it until 3 months ago. I've been literally working towards this project for, 5, 6 years without producing anything, hardly at all. I had to overcome my fear, and fear is not a sign to stop. Fear is often a sign that something matters deeply to you. And sometimes your purpose is connected to the very thing that intimidates you most because growth exists outside of comfort. Think about how many opportunities disappear simply because people refuse to risk embarrassment. They would rather stay invisible than attempt something meaningful and fail publicly. But failure is part of the process. Nobody becomes great without looking foolish at first. Beginners are supposed to struggle. That's normal. What destroys people is not failure, it's quitting before growth has time to happen. You have to stop measuring your beginning against somebody else's middle. Social media makes people think success happens instantly, but you usually don't see the years of struggle behind the scenes. You don't see the sacrifices, the rejection, the self doubt, the lonely nights over the repeated failures. You only see the outcomes, and that distorted view causes people to abandon their own path too early. Your purpose is not a race against other people, it's a responsibility to yourself. And the longer you avoid it, the heavier that feeling becomes. Deep down, most people already know what they need to do. They just keep negotiating with themselves because discipline is difficult. They wait for inspiration, but inspiration is unreliable. Systems matters more, habits matter more, showing up consistently matters more. You cannot build a meaningful life based on temporary motivation because motivation changes daily. Some days you'll feel energized. I didn't feel energized this morning. I literally laid in bed until 10 o'clock this morning, slept another 2 additional hours because I just didn't feel it. And other days you'll feel tired, uncertain, or discouraged. Discipline is what keeps you moving during those moments. And purpose is not only about passion, it's about responsibility. Responsibility to develop your gifts, responsibility to maximize your time, responsibility to become the person you are capable of becoming instead of wasting years living beneath your potential. One day your life will be measured not by how comfortable you stayed, but by what you created, who you became, and whether you had the courage to pursue what mattered to you. That's the reality most people avoid thinking about. Time is moving whether you act or not, and the future version of you is being shaped right now by your current habits, your decisions, and your focus. If you continue ignoring your purpose, eventually you will build a life that feels safe on the outside, but empty on the inside. And no amount of distraction can permanently silence that emptiness. But the moment you start taking your purpose seriously, something changes internally. You begin respecting yourself more because you're no longer betraying your own potential. You stop feeling powerless. I'm crying because I've been here. Because you're finally moving forward. You stop feeling powerless because you're finally moving forward. Even smaller progress creates the momentum. Even imperfect action creates the clarity. You don't need to have every detail figured out before you begin. You just need enough courage to take the next step. Stop waiting for the perfect timing. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for there's a fly. Stop waiting for permission. Your life is happening now. The goal you keep postponing are still calling you for a reason, and the ideas that won't leave your mind are there for a reason. The dissatisfaction you feel with average living is there for a reason. It's your mind reminding you that you were built for more than endless distraction and survival mode. Start taking your potential seriously, start protecting your focus, and start building habits that align with the future you actually want. Because years from now, you will either thank yourself for starting today or regret that you kept delaying the life you knew you were meant to pursue. Thanks for watching today. All I ask, if you enjoyed this video and found some value to this video, just subscribe. That's all. Without a subscription base, I can't stay here on YouTube. I can't even grow on YouTube because how they have it all set up. So if you would, just subscribe. That's all that matters to me. And I appreciate you stopping by. And you know what? We're going to see you tomorrow. I got another video coming every day, 5 days a week. I'm here. I'll see you tomorrow. And I hope you have a good day because I'm going to try to.